Hidden deep within the barren deserts of Jordan lay a secret that the ancient world whispered about but rarely saw. While Rome built upwards with stone and mortar, the Nabateans did the impossible by building inwards. They didn't construct their city, they subtracted it, carving massive palaces directly into the living rock faces. To find it, one had to navigate the Seek, a terrifyingly narrow crack in the earth over a mile long. This natural fortress made the city invisible to invading armies who could march past without ever knowing it existed. At the end of this dark tunnel, the sunlight revealed Al-Kazne, a masterpiece of Hellenistic architecture sculpted from a cliff. In the year 100, this facade was not worn stone, but crisp and polished, glowing pink in the sun. Statues of gods and eagles looked down from 40 meters high, guarding the entrance to the royal tombs. But the true miracle of Petra was not its stone, but its absolute mastery over water in a wasteland. In a place where rain meant flash floods that killed instantly, the Nabateans engineered a system to tame nature. Hidden terracotta pipes, pressurized by gravity, carried fresh water into the heart of the arid city. They built a massive garden complex with an Olympic-sized swimming pool right in the middle of the scorched desert. This was a psychological weapon, a display of arrogant wealth showing they could waste water while others died of thirst. The city center was a metropolis of freestanding temples and colonnaded streets rivaling the grandeur of Athens. Over 30,000 people lived here, enriched by the monopoly on the frankincense and myrrh trade routes. Caravans from Arabia would stop here, paying heavy taxes for the safety and water of the hidden valley. The architecture was a fusion of styles, borrowing from Egypt, Greece, and Assyria to create something unique. High above the city, the monastery was carved into a mountain peak, serving as a sacred site for King Obotus. Unlike the Romans, who used slave labor, these monuments were likely carved by paid guilds of master stonecutters. They worked from the top down, standing on the very ledges they were carving away as they descended. One mistake in the chiseling process meant the entire facade would be ruined forever, so perfection was mandatory. Inside the rock, distinct layers of colorful sandstone created natural swirls of red, white, and blue on the walls. The royal tombs dominated the eastern cliffs, their facades looming over the houses of the living below. At night, the city glowed with oil lamps, illuminating the pink stone against the pitch-black desert sky. The theater, carved into the rock face, could seat thousands, proving that this was a center of high culture. But the silence of the desert was deceptive, as the shadow of Rome was creeping closer every day. The Emperor Trajan coveted this jewel, wanting to control the lucrative incense trade for the empire. Petra, in 100 AD, was enjoying its final golden sunset as an independent kingdom before annexation. It was a civilization that understood the desert better than anyone, turning a hostile canyon into an oasis. Their hydraulic engineering was so advanced that modern hydraulic scientists are still studying their dam systems today. They didn't fight nature, they manipulated it, diverting rivers to flow exactly where they wanted. This allowed them to grow grapes and olives in a landscape that should have only supported lizards and scorpions. But like a mirage, the city's power was fragile, dependent entirely on the trade routes remaining unchanged. When the trade shifted, the city would eventually be abandoned, leaving its stone skeletons to the wind. But in this moment, it is the Paris of the desert, a vibrant intersection of the known world. The sound of Aramaic, Greek, and Latin filled the air as merchants haggled over precious spices. It stands as a testament to human ingenuity, the ability to carve a legacy out of solid rock. A city half as old as time, hidden in the cleft of the rock, protected by the earth itself. As the sun sets, the sandstone turns a deep, violent red, burning with a memory of its glory. The invisible city waits silent and eternal, guarding its secrets from the encroaching night. Hidden along the Mediterranean coast stood Alexandria, a city built not for kings but for knowledge itself. Unlike other capitals, Alexandria was engineered as a machine designed to gather, store, and control information centrally. Every ship entering the harbor was searched not for weapons but for books, scrolls, and recorded ideas. Texts found aboard were seized, copied, archived, while the originals were kept permanently by the state authorities. Knowledge in Alexandria was never free. It was centralized, cataloged, classified, and carefully controlled by ruling elites. The city was founded by Alexander but perfected by scholars more dangerous than any battlefield general alive. At its core stood the Great Library, not a single building, but a vast institutional complex devoted. Hundreds of thousands of papyrus scrolls filled endless halls, organized by subject, origin, language, and author, meticulously. Scribes worked endlessly beneath oil lamps, converting fragile human thought into durable recorded memory for future generations. Philosophers, mathematicians, engineers, and physicians shared corridors debating reality, logic, and natural law without fear or restraint. Alexandria advanced geometry, astronomy, and medicine at speeds unmatched anywhere else in the ancient world during history. Scholars calculated the size of the Earth using shadows and geometry centuries before modern instruments existed anywhere. Human anatomy was studied systematically, breaking sacred taboos in pursuit of understanding life itself with ruthless curiosity. Alexandria believed ignorance was a disease, and knowledge was the only lasting cure for civilization itself globally. The Mauseon functioned as a state-funded research institute devoted entirely to disciplined thinking beyond tradition alone. Scholars were paid, housed, and fed, so their only responsibility was deeper intellectual exploration without survival anxiety. Maps of the known world were drawn, refined, corrected, and expanded inside marble halls of collective memory. Beyond the library, the city thrived with broad avenues, harbors, marketplaces, and administrative districts serving imperial ambition. Alexandria was neither purely Greek nor Egyptian, but a deliberate fusion of both civilizations shaping identity consciously. Greek, Egyptian, Hebrew, and Latin languages echoed simultaneously through streets, halls, and porticos, creating constant cultural negotiation. Dominating the harbor stood the Pharos Lighthouse, a monument to science, navigation, and authority visible for miles. Its rotating fire-guided ships safely while symbolizing mastery over darkness, distance, and chaos through applied knowledge. The light of Alexandria was both literal and intellectual, reaching far across the Mediterranean, shaping regional destiny. Yet concentrating so much knowledge inside one city made it extraordinarily fragile to political shifts and fear. Politics, religion, and empire all feared what independent thinkers might unlock or challenge within existing power structures. As power shifted, protection weakened, and scholarship slowly lost its political priority under changing imperial administrative agendas. Scrolls disappeared, not through one great fire, but through neglect, erosion, and indifference over successive unstable generations. Knowledge demands guardians, and without them, memory dissolves silently without resistance, leaving civilizations blind to their past. The greatest library on Earth did not fall to armies, but to apathy within ruling political systems. Alexandria in 100 AD stood at the absolute peak of human intellect, before irreversible cultural decline. Its scholars believed understanding the world was the first step toward controlling it through reason measurement alone. But knowledge always provokes fear, and fear inevitably invites suppression from authorities threatened by independent intellectual power. The city that knew everything trusted permanence far more than it deserved within unstable political climates constantly. Ideas burn quieter than cities, leaving no ruins for future generations to mourn their silent, irreversible disappearance. Today, nothing remains of the halls that once contained humanity's collective mind, despite shaping modern scientific thought. Yet modern science still walks intellectual paths first drawn within Alexandria by disciplined ancient observers, thinkers, scholars. It was a city of thought erased by time but never truly destroyed through lasting influence worldwide. The knowledge machine sleeps buried beneath water, stone, and forgotten streets of modern Alexandria, waiting silently remembered. Its influence survives wherever humans choose reason, observation, and inquiry over superstition, dogma, fear, control, and ignorance. Alexandria waits silently in history, reminding civilization how fragile wisdom truly is when power fears understanding knowledge. Imagine a city where the silk of China meets the gold of Rome. In a single breath, Antioch stands as the glowing jewel of the East, holding the fate of empires in its hands. This is not merely a Roman province, but the beating heart of the entire civilized ancient world. The Orontes River flows heavy with ships that carry spices and secrets from the edge of India. Merchants speak a dozen languages on every corner, while bargaining for goods from lands beyond the map. Here, the rugged mountains of Syria descend to meet the fertile plains in a warm embrace of stone. A single main street runs for miles, lined with marble colonnades that protect pedestrians from the sun. Wealth flows through these gutters like rainwater during a storm, feeding the hunger of a million souls. Roman governors rule from their palaces, yet the soul of the city remains stubbornly and proudly Eastern. Greeks and Syrians mingle with Romans and Jews to create a tapestry woven from vibrant human thread. The noise of the market is a deafening roar that never fades even when the moon rises. Chariot wheels grind against the stone pavement as the wealthy race toward their evening of lavish entertainment. Public baths steam with heat and gossip as powerful men decide the future of trade and war. Water flows through aqueducts that stretch across the valley, like the bones of a sleeping stone giant. The smell of roasting meat and exotic perfume hangs heavy in the thick air of the afternoon. Philosophers debate on the steps of the theater, while gamblers shout their fortunes in the busy taverns. This is a place where identity is fluid, and a man can become whatever his gold buys. Statues of gods and emperors watch over the crowds, with eyes of cold marble and silent judgment. The city walls offer protection, but the true strength of Antioch lies in its endless open gates. Caravans arrive from the dusty desert roads, bringing news that travels faster than any imperial official decree. Every ship that docks at the port of Seleucia adds another layer to this complex urban puzzle. Luxury is not a rare privilege here, but a common expectation for those who master the trade. Street lamps banish the darkness of night, making this the city that truly refuses to ever sleep. To walk these streets is to witness the collision of tradition and progress in real time today. Conflict simmers beneath the surface, yet the promise of profit keeps the peace between rival factions. The governor commands the legions, but the merchant princes control the flow of grain and silver coin. Temples to ancient gods stand beside new altars, accepting prayers in every tongue known to mankind. The grand hippodrome roars with the collective scream of thousands cheering for their favorite chariot racing team. Dust and glory mix in the arena, reflecting the chaotic spirit of the city outside the walls. Antioch is the gateway where the rigid order of Rome dissolves into the mystery of the East. Travelers who enter these gates often forget the homes they left behind in the pursuit of fortune. The rhythm of the city is set by the exchange of currency rather than the changing seasons. Bridges cross the river to connect neighborhoods that feel like entirely different worlds within the same walls. Mosaics on the floors of private villas depict scenes of pleasure that rival the myths of old. Even the shadows here seem to hold secrets of deals made in the corners of crowded rooms. This is the crossroads of the human experience, where every desire can be met for a price. Empires may rise and fall, but the trade that flows through Antioch remains constant and eternally vital. It is a beacon of civilization that burns bright enough to be seen from the distant capital. History is not just written here. It is bought and sold in the marketplace every single day. Antioch stands as the ultimate testament to the enduring power of connection in a divided ancient world. In the year 100, Rome stands as the undisputed master of the known world and human civilization. Inside this arena, 50,000 citizens witness the brutal spectacles that serve as propaganda for imperial power. The Forum is the brain of the empire, where decisions are made that affect millions across 3 continents. Gold from conquered lands adorns the temples, proving that the gods favor the bold ambitions of Rome. Trade flows freely through these markets, bringing exotic goods from the Silk Road directly to the capital. Inside the Senate House, the wealthy elite debate the laws that maintain order in a vast territory. The thirst for entertainment drives the masses to the racetrack, where charioteers become the world's first superstars. Public baths are palaces for the people, symbols of a civilization that values leisure, hygiene, and social order. Wealthy aristocrats escape the city noise in private villas, surrounded by art that mimics the Greek masters. From the Palatine Hill, the emperor looks out over a city of 1 million souls, the largest in history. The true secret of Roman power lies here, in a paved road network that connects every province. Aqueducts defy gravity to bring fresh water over mountains, a feat of engineering unmatched for 1,000 years. At Ostia, the empire feeds its people, unloading grain from Egypt to support the free bread dole. Legions do not just fight, they build infrastructure, turning chaos into order with every stone they lay. Advanced sanitation systems and public latrines prevent disease, allowing high urban density to flourish safely. Hidden beneath the floors, ingenious heating systems allow Romans to live comfortably even in the coldest winters. Industrial power drives the economy, utilizing water energy to process grain on a scale never seen before. Whole mountains of white marble are carved away to transform Rome from a city of brick to marble. Stone bridges conquer nature, ensuring that neither rivers nor floods can stop the movement of Roman citizens. Great sewers flush the waste of 1 million people into the river, the unsung hero of urban survival. On the savage frontiers, standardized forts project power, terrifying barbarians with their strict geometry and discipline. The Roman war machine moves as one living organism, crushing undisciplined enemies with superior tactics and equipment. A centurion commands respect not just through rank, but through a lifetime of brutal experience in war. Deadly artillery provides long-range support, striking fear into enemies long before they can reach the walls. The tortoise formation proves that discipline is stronger than fury, protecting soldiers under a shell of iron. Auxiliary cavalry patrol the borders, recruiting skilled riders from conquered tribes to serve their new masters. Hadrian's Wall stands as the physical limit of civilization, separating the Roman world from the untamed wilderness. Victory is immortalized in stone, reminding citizens that peace is bought with the blood of foreign conquests. The Praetorian Guard protects the emperor, holding the ultimate power to make or break the ruler of Rome. One eagle standard unites diverse nations under a single law, creating the first true superpower in history. Even the common people enjoy a varied diet, eating fast food and drinking wine in bustling street bars. Bakeries work day and night, for the emperor knows that a well-fed population is a peaceful one. The fullery is the chemical plant of the ancient world, using harsh ammonia to keep Roman togas white. Art is not just for the rich. Intricate mosaics decorate the floors of shops, celebrating daily life. Religion is a transaction, where priests offer wine and sacrifice to ensure the safety of the state. Nature is tamed within private gardens, reflecting the Roman desire to impose order upon the wild world. Gladiators are both slaves and idols, training daily to die with dignity for the amusement of the mob. Medical knowledge converges on this island, where religion and science mix to heal the sick and wounded. As the sun sets, the empire sleeps safely, protected by laws and legions that span the entire horizon. This is the Pax Romana, a golden age of peace and stability that will echo through eternity. Rome once swore that this city must die, yet today it feeds the very heart of the empire. The legions that marched here to burn and salt the earth have been replaced by merchants seeking profit. History has played a cruel trick on the victors by making them dependent on the vanquished for survival. Centuries ago, fire consumed every roof and wall until nothing remained but ash and the silence of death. The Senate declared that no stone should stand upon another, erasing the Punic rival from the living world. Generations passed while the ruins slept under the African sun, a graveyard marking the absolute power of Rome. Yet the logic of empire eventually outweighed the passion of hate, demanding a new port on this coast. Engineers arrived to resurrect the ghost, laying a grid of streets over the buried bones of the past. They built a new capital not for the sake of honor, but to exploit the richness of the soil. A colony rose from the dust, designed to extract wealth and ship it north across the Mediterranean Sea. The great harbor that once launched warships against Italy now welcomes the grain fleets that keep Rome alive. Every season, the golden wheat of Africa flows through these docks to silence the hunger of the mob. Without the constant arrival of these ships, the streets of the eternal city would descend into violent chaos. The master has become a beggar, waiting anxiously for the servant to provide the bread for his table. Carthage has transformed from a terrifying military threat into an economic engine that drives the entire imperial machine. Out in the vast countryside, thousands of laborers harvest the crops under the watchful eyes of ambitious overseers. The sweat of the peasant in the field translates directly into the stability of the emperor on his throne. Olive groves stretch toward the horizon, producing the oil that lights the lamps of every household in Rome. Wealthy magistrates build lavish villas with mosaic floors, displaying loyalty while quietly counting their immense and growing profits. They speak Latin and wear the toga, yet they owe their fortune to the fertile African earth beneath. In the bustling market, traders from every province haggle over prices, ignoring the bloody history of this ground. The noise of commerce drowns out the old curses once shouted from the high walls of the citadel. Rome thought it killed the spirit of this place, but it merely forced it into a new shape. The ambition that once fueled wars of conquest now fuels a dominance of trade no army can fight. By destroying the old Punic state, the legions unwittingly laid the foundation for a richer and stronger rival. The center of gravity has shifted south, leaving the conquerors reliant on the productivity of the conquered coast. Power is no longer measured by the sword alone, but by control of the harvest and the port. The greatest revenge of Carthage is not destruction, but the quiet realization that Rome cannot exist without it. Every loaf of bread eaten in the Forum is a silent testament to the resilience of this city. The ashes of the past proved to be the most fertile soil for the growth of new power. Stone temples rise on the Bursa hill to honor Roman gods, but the city serves its own endurance. While the capital consumes and decays, this colony produces and thrives, growing stronger with every passing harvest season. The ships leaving the harbor carry more than just grain. They carry the undeniable proof of reversed fate. Destruction was an act of war, but resurrection is the ultimate act of defiance against history's verdict. We see a city that refused to vanish, turning the instrument of death into the source of life. The empire believes it rules the world, yet its stomach is ruled by the fertile African coast. Irony is written in stone on every warehouse storing the wealth Rome is too weak to produce. The story of Carthage is not of endings, but of a transformation that the sword could not prevent. What was once a symbol of ruin has become the indispensable pillar holding up the sky of Rome. The vanquished city has conquered its destroyer, not with fire, but with the absolute necessity of survival. The legions of Rome patrol these streets, but the mind of Athens remains free and unbound. Conquest has taken the physical city, yet the dominion of the intellect has only just begun. We stand in a place where the sharpest weapon is not a sword, but a question. Visitors arrive seeking wisdom rather than gold, because ideas are the true currency of this realm. The noise of the market hides a deeper silence, where logic battles for absolute supremacy today. Men gather under the stone porticos to debate the nature of justice and the human soul. Philosophy is no longer a private hobby, but a public force that shapes the collective consciousness. The ghost of Socrates still haunts these dusty paths and demands truth from every passing citizen. He taught us that the admission of ignorance is the very first step toward true knowledge. Plato built upon this foundation to construct a republic of words that outlasts all stone empires. He urged the people to look beyond the shadows and find the eternal forms of perfection. Aristotle later walked these grounds and grounded our high ideals in the soil of observable reality. He gave us the tools to categorize the natural world and analyze the life we live. Rival schools of thought now rise and fall like tides against the ancient shores of tradition. Some argue that happiness comes from pleasure, while others find their peace in enduring quiet pain. Reason is the only monarch here, and it commands more respect than any distant Roman emperor. To question authority is the sacred right of every man who calls this complex city home. The ancient experiment of democracy showed the world that power could reside in the many hands. History has proven that liberty is fragile and can be stolen by the words of tyrants. Freedom requires constant vigilance and a mind capable of distinguishing a comfortable lie from hard truth. The great academies stand as monuments to the bold belief that the human mind is perfectible. Students travel from the edges of the known world to learn the art of clear thinking. They discover that a well-crafted argument can change the course of history without shedding blood. Athens was conquered by armies, but it has captured the minds of its fierce new masters. Rome may rule the body of the world, but Greece still commands the soul of intellect. The questions asked here are not local matters, but universal struggles of the human condition itself. Philosophers ask what it means to live a good life and how we should treat others. Virtue is debated not as a theoretical abstract, but as a practical guide for daily action. Scholars look to the stars and the earth to find the hidden order governing all things. Geometry provides a precise language that transcends the barriers of culture and the passing of time. Stone temples may one day crumble, but the invisible architecture of logic will remain standing forever. An idea born in the shade of a porch can travel further than any marching legion. This city projects influence without territory, proving that wisdom is the ultimate form of imperial power. Empires are bound by borders and time, but the realm of pure thought knows no limits. We see here the realization that human potential is unlocked only through rigorous debate and study. The true citizen is one who cultivates his mind and contributes to the collective wisdom pool. Progress is made not through agreement, but through the fierce collision of opposing viewpoints and theories. The flame lit by these philosophers burns through the centuries and illuminates the darkness of ignorance. Athens in this era represents the triumph of the rational mind over the chaos of nature. We are all heirs to this city of thought whenever we choose reason over brute force. In the year 100, Rome crowned itself master of the earth, unaware a greater giant was watching. To the west, China was a myth, a land of ghosts producing fabric woven from light itself. Inside the imperial court paradise was maintained by a paranoia so deep it stained the rivers red. The emperor was a prisoner in his own palace, manipulated by eunuchs whispering poison in his ear. They built massive walls not to keep people out, but to lock a 60 million soul secret inside. Roman gold flowed into these gates, paying for silk that elites bankrupted their own empire to wear. The Han possessed steel technology that made Roman iron look like soft copper, yet they kept it hidden. While Europe fought with brute force, Han generals fought with mathematics, crushing enemies before the first arrow flew. Their crossbows were the machine guns of antiquity, aiming to wipe out entire nomadic bloodlines from history. Deep in the desert, they waged a genocidal war against the Xiongnu that the world ignored completely. It was a silent slaughter intended to secure trade routes that fed the emperor's immortality obsession. They buried their dead in suits of jade sewn with gold, believing wealth could bribe the gods. Alchemists boiled toxic mercury, feeding it to kings who slowly went mad, chasing eternal life in vain. The bureaucracy was a terrifying machine, recording every birth and death on paper, while Europe used parchment. A peasant could rise to general, or a general could lose his head for being 5 minutes late. This absolute discipline created the most efficient killing force the ancient world had ever seen in action. They pushed the northern barbarians so hard that the survivors had no choice but to flee west. These fleeing refugees would eventually become the Huns, the future destroyers of the Roman Empire centuries later. Without knowing it, the Han dynasty was writing the death warrant of Western civilization from thousands of miles away. But victory came at a terrible price, as the rot began to consume the dragon from within. The powerful consort clans began to dismantle the throne, turning royal bloodlines into a brutal political battlefield. In the shadows of the capital, a cult was rising, binding yellow scarves and whispering of a new sky. The glorious empire was actually a ticking time bomb built on the suffering of starving millions of people. Farmers were crushed by taxes to pay for endless wars, leaving fields empty and families in despair. Nature itself seemed to turn against the mandate of heaven, with floods destroying the harvest of the poor. The celestial court ignored the cries of the hungry, feasting on rare delicacies while the foundation crumbled. Warlords rose in the provinces, sensing the weakness of the central power, like sharks smelling fresh blood. The capital burned not by foreign invasion, but by the hands of those sworn to protect it. Libraries containing centuries of wisdom turned to ash in a single night of madness and civil war. The unity that defined the civilization fractured into three warring kingdoms destined to fight for generations. Heroes rose from the chaos, but their legends were written in the blood of the common people. The jade seal of the realm was lost in the fire, symbolizing the end of divine order. Yet the technology remained, leaving a legacy that would eventually reshape the entire world in the future. Paper would carry religion and science across the Silk Road, enlightening the darkness of the Middle Ages. The steel of the East would inspire blacksmiths across the continents to forge better weapons of war. The refugees pushed west by Han armies would topple Rome, changing the map of Europe forever. History remembers the glory, but the ghosts of the Silk Road only remember the blood and silence. The dragon sleeps in the dust, but its dreams of power and unity never truly died away. As the sun sets on the Han Empire, the world prepares for a long era of darkness. 100 years of golden rule ends, leaving behind a warning that no empire lasts for eternity. Most great empires are forged in fire and blood, leaving only silence and ash in their wake. Yet between the high peaks and river valleys, a different kind of power began to rise. Nomads descended from the steppe not to destroy civilization, but to weave its scattered threads together. They built no walls to guard their borders, finding strength instead in the open roads of trade. Gold coins minted in these mountains carried the faces of gods from 3 distant worlds combined. Greek heroes stood beside Indian sages on stone reliefs, carved by hands that knew both traditions. Travelers moving west brought more than silk and spice, carrying whispers of a new spiritual path. In the bustling markets of Mathura, the heavy silence of conquest was replaced by vibrant exchange. The emperor sat upon his throne, yet his gaze looked beyond the limits of earthly dominion. Stone statues rose from the dust, bearing the likeness of peace rather than the sword's edge. It remained unclear how a dynasty born of war could nurture such profound and gentle stillness. Their cities became meeting grounds where the distinctions between foreigner and native began to slowly dissolve. The air itself seemed heavy with the weight of unseen ideas pressing against the old order. Monks walked the mountain passes in simple robes, wielding an influence greater than any standing army. They carried texts that spoke of suffering and liberation, offering solace to those weary of endless conflict. The empire expanded not by marching legions, but by opening the gates to every wandering soul. Sculptors in Gandhara gave form to the formless, draping the enlightened one in folds of stone. This fusion of styles created a visual language that spoke to the hearts of many peoples. Yet the stability of this vast realm rested on something far more fragile than stone walls. It depended on the delicate balance between the material wealth of trade and the pursuit of truth. Every caravan that crossed the high passes strengthened the invisible web that held the empire together. The rulers understood that true dominance required capturing the imagination rather than merely holding the land. They wore the trappings of power, but their legacy was being written in the minds of men. The crucial question lingered of whether faith could truly bind a fractured world better than fear. The answer emerged as the teachings of the Buddha flowed outward like water from a spring. Merchants became messengers, planting seeds of devotion in lands that had never known the Dharma before. The empire transformed itself into a vessel for the transmission of light across the darkened continent. By embracing the diversity of their subjects, the Kushans created a unity that transcended simple geography. The art of Gandhara proved that beauty could bridge the chasm between east and west effectively. Stone faces carved in these valleys would eventually inspire devotion in temples thousands of miles away. The power of the sword faded, but the image of the serene sage remained etched forever. Trade routes became arteries of culture, pumping life into civilizations that lay far beyond the horizon. This was an authority built on the shared realization that human suffering is a universal burden. The empire served its purpose by dissolving the barriers that had long kept humanity in isolation. What began as a nomadic incursion matured into a golden age of connection and spiritual awakening. The physical borders of the realm eventually crumbled, returning to the dust of the dry plains. Yet the ideas that flourished within those borders continued to travel, unhindered by the fall of kings. Influence rooted in the spirit outlived the stone monuments and the shifting lines on the map. The true conquest was not of the land, but of the human heart through enduring compassion. History remembers best those who build bridges where others build walls, connecting us across the ages. History often tells us that Rome stood alone, but the truth is far more complex and vast. Deep within the wetlands of the Mekong Delta lies a city that connected the ends of the earth. Akio rises from the marsh not as a village, but as a master of the southern seas. While legions marched across Europe, merchant ships docked here carrying gold that bore the face of Caesar. This was the crossroads where the silk of the north met the spices of the distant west. Wooden piles support a labyrinth of canals that turn the water itself into the streets of the city. Traders from India walk these docks, bringing with them the prayers of the Brahmin and the Buddha. Glass beads fused in Roman furnaces are traded for the aromatic woods grown in the deep jungle. Power here is not measured by the sword, but by the ability to navigate the dangerous ocean. The Funan kings do not build walls of stone, but they build networks of immense and silent reach. A vast grid of channels drains the floodwaters, transforming a wild swamp into a thriving engine of commerce. Gold medallions, stamped with the image of Antoninus Pius, rest in the hands of local chieftains here. This city proves that the ancient world was woven together by threads of silver, wind, and ambition. Ships wait for the monsoon winds to turn, their hulls heavy with ivory, pearls, and precious tin. Artisans in bamboo workshops craft jewelry that rivals the finest work found in the markets of Alexandria. There is no single emperor who rules this coast, yet its influence touches the farthest known empires. While the Han Dynasty secures the north, this port quietly commands the southern gate of all trade. It is a civilization built on the fluidity of water rather than the rigid permanence of rock. Knowledge of the stars guides captains through storms that would shatter the fleets of lesser nations today. Mirrors of polished bronze reflect faces that have traveled thousands of miles to seek fortune in this port. The rhythm of life is dictated by the arrival of foreign sails and the changing of seasons. Seals carved with Sanskrit script mark crates of goods, destined for palaces that the merchants will never see. This is a place where cultures collide gently, merging to create something entirely new and profoundly rich. The marshlands hide the scale of this enterprise from those who only look for monuments of stone. Wealth accumulates in the hands of those who understand the currents of the sea and the market. It stands as a testament to human ingenuity, taming a hostile landscape to serve a global purpose. Silence now covers the fields where voices in a dozen tongues once bargained for the world's treasures. We often mistake the absence of written chronicles for the absence of power, complexity, and historical significance. Yet the soil itself remembers what was forgotten, yielding treasures that force us to rewrite the past. A single Roman coin found in this mud shatters our perception of distance in the ancient world. The vastness of the ocean was not a barrier, but a highway for those brave enough to sail. Axum functioned as a vital heart, pumping life through arteries that spanned from west to east. Its legacy is not recorded in great epics, but in the quiet continuity of maritime exchange routes. Empires rise and fall on the backs of armies, but this city rose on the back of trust. The ghosts of this port whisper that connection is the true driver of human progress and history. Wood rots and canals fill with silt, yet the pattern of trade established here remains unbroken today. We look at maps and see emptiness, where once there was a hub of vibrant and chaotic life. The story of human civilization is far larger than the few famous names we have been taught. Great powers can exist in the shadows of history, shaping the world without demanding to rule it. Axum reminds us that the map of the past is still waiting to be fully drawn. Across the vast silence of the Atlantic Ocean, a new giant was rising from the Mexican highlands. While Rome was built on war, Teotihuacan was built on a cosmic order terrifying in its perfection. This was the first true metropolis of the Americas, designed not by organic growth, but by mathematical master plan. A central avenue wider than any Roman road sliced through the valley, aligning perfectly with the stars. To the locals, it was the birthplace of the gods, where the sun and moon were created. Dominating the skyline was the Pyramid of the Sun, a mountain of stone painted blood red. It stood as a man-made volcano, mirroring the sacred mountains that surrounded this high-altitude valley. Unlike the chaotic streets of Rome, this city was a rigid grid of white plaster and red murals. There were no slums here, only standardized apartment compounds housing over 100,000 people in total. Citizens lived in stone palaces with drainage systems that rivaled the best engineering of the Roman Empire. But beneath this pristine architectural order lay a society driven by a desperate fear of cosmic collapse. They believed the sun would die unless fed with sacred energy maintained by rigid rituals and sacrifice. The city was a magnet drawing merchants from jungles thousands of miles away to trade green jade. Obsidian workshops churned out razor-sharp blades, acting as the industrial factories of the ancient Mesoamerican world. The marketplace was a sensory explosion of colorful feathers, jaguar skins, and cacao beans used as currency. Foreigners from the Maya lands lived in their own districts, bringing exotic customs to the highland capital. Yet strangely, there were no statues of kings, no glorious tombs for individual rulers found anywhere here. It seemed to be a collective utopia ruled by faceless lords who hid behind masks of gods. This anonymity created a psychological pressure, a feeling that the city itself was the only true ruler. Inside the temples, priests performed bloodletting in smoke-filled rooms, trying to keep the universe in motion. Under the Pyramid of the Moon, bound captives were buried alive to consecrate the massive stone expansions. They engineered a river of mercury beneath the feathered serpent temple to simulate the shimmering underworld waters. This toxic metal lake was a map of the cosmos hidden in absolute darkness under the earth. Above ground, the city gleamed in the sun, a blinding testament to human will over wild nature. The Street of the Dead was not a place of silence, but a grand stage for processions. Thousands would gather to watch rituals that blended politics and religion into a single terrifying spectacle. Rain gods were worshipped with desperation, as the high valley depended entirely on the whims of weather. The walls of every building whispered stories through intricate frescoes depicting paradise and fearsome storm deities. It was a civilization at its absolute zenith, unrivaled in size and power across the entire continent. Yet the seeds of its destruction were already planted in the very environment they stripped for resources. Forests were burned to make the lime plaster that covered the city, creating an ecological time bomb. Social tension simmered within the apartment compounds as the gap between elites and commoners slowly widened. The rigid order that built the city would eventually become the cage that suffocated its own people. But in the year 100, the city was invincible, a beacon of civilization in a green world. It stood as proof that humanity could tame the chaos of the jungle and build a mountain. Even centuries later, the Aztecs would look at these ruins and whisper that giants must have lived here. Teotihuacan remains a silent witness to a golden age that burned bright before vanishing into mystery. The architectural skeleton left behind challenges us to understand a mind so different from our own. As the sun sets over the Avenue of the Dead, the shadows of the past grow long. The city of gods sleeps, waiting for its story to be told to a new world. Most history books ignore the massive African empire that once rivaled Rome, Persia, and China for dominance. High in the Ethiopian highlands, the kingdom of Axum rose quietly before suddenly seizing control of the world. Merchants from distant lands arrived in Adulis, finding a civilization far wealthier and more organized than they expected. Ships carried ivory and gold, yet captains realized they were trapped in a web they could not escape. The kings here did not just trade goods. They minted gold coins that circulated in markets across India. While Rome struggled with borders, Axumite soldiers strangely marched east, crossing the sea to fight on foreign soil. Stone inscriptions found in the Arabian desert document a confusing presence of African troops deep within hostile territory. The Roman Empire needed goods from the east. but every single shipment had to pass through Axumite hands. Rival empires watched with jealousy as this highland kingdom began dictating the flow of luxury goods worldwide. Massive granite obelisks pierced the sky, marking the graves of kings who wielded absolute authority over their subjects. They were the first sub-Saharan nation to mint currency, signaling a sophisticated economy that demanded international respect. Amidst this golden age of wealth, whispers of a radical change began to circulate through the royal court. The old temples stood tall and imposing, yet the ruling elite seemed ready to discard centuries of tradition. Traders noticed that the symbols on the coins were shifting, hinting at an internal upheaval that puzzled outsiders. Control over the Red Sea was absolute, but the motivation behind their aggressive expansion remained unclear to many. Roman emperors paid heavy taxes to Axum, unable to bypass the blockade that suffocated their eastern supply lines. India sent ambassadors to the highlands, acknowledging a geopolitical force that had seemingly appeared out of nowhere. The Axumite military machine was efficient, utilizing iron weapons and organized tactics to crush rebellious tribes and rivals. Their obsession with holding territory in Yemen defied the logic of typical land empires seeking continental expansion. As centuries passed, the kingdom stood at a crossroads between its ancient heritage and a new world order. The stability of the state relied on maintaining fear abroad and strict loyalty at home among the nobility. Historians have long debated why a thriving empire would suddenly risk everything to alter its fundamental cultural identity. One wrong move could shatter the trade monopoly that fueled their armies and built their towering monuments. The answers to these strategic puzzles reveal a calculated brilliance that preserved their dominance for centuries to come. Axum invaded Arabia to destroy Himyarite pirates who threatened the shipping lanes essential for their immense wealth. By seizing the Yemeni coast, they secured both sides of the Red Sea, turning it into an Axumite lake. Rome and India depended on Axum because the kingdom mastered the seasonal monsoon winds that powered all transit. They utilized the port of Adulis as a mandatory stopover, taxing every single cargo moving between the continents. This geographical stranglehold allowed them to inflate prices and drain significant amounts of gold from the Roman economy. King Azana abandoned old gods for Christianity to align politically with the rising power of the Byzantine Empire. This conversion was a strategic maneuver that solidified diplomatic alliances and opened new commercial markets for their merchants. The crescent moon on their coins was replaced by the cross, broadcasting their new allegiance to every trader. With the Red Sea secured and Rome as an ally, Axum reached the zenith of its global influence. However, the heavy reliance on international trade eventually exposed the kingdom to economic shocks from distant foreign wars. The rise of rival powers in Persia began to disrupt the maritime routes that sustained the Axumite treasury. Environmental degradation and erratic rainfall slowly eroded the agricultural base that supported the population of the capital city. Their grip on the Arabian coast eventually slipped, breaking the dual coast security that had guaranteed their maritime supremacy. The spread of Islam later isolated the Christian kingdom, cutting it off from the trade networks it built. Axum retreated into the defensive safety of the mountains, leaving their coastal ports to crumble into the sand. The empire that commanded the seas vanished from the map, leaving only stone pillars to prove its existence. The sun rises over limestone walls where ancient faith stands defiant against the sprawling power of Rome. This city is not built for imperial glory, but for the worship of a single invisible God. Stone streets echo with the footsteps of pilgrims who have traveled great distances to reach this place. Every archway and courtyard within these high walls is defined by a strict adherence to sacred law. The great temple dominates the skyline and serves as the beating heart of this entire restless province. White marble columns rise toward the heavens to declare the absolute sovereignty of the divine over man. Priests in white linen move with solemn purpose through courts that are forbidden to all foreign nations. The smoke of daily sacrifices ascends into the sky as a visible sign of an eternal covenant. Gold plates upon the sanctuary facade reflect the morning light and blind those who gaze too long. Silence reigns within the inner sanctum, where the presence of the Almighty is said to dwell alone. Ritual purity governs the lives of the people more strictly than any decree from a distant emperor. Water flows through ritual baths where the faithful cleanse themselves before approaching the presence of the holy. Scholars debate the interpretation of the law, while common men seek guidance for their daily earthly lives. The rhythm of the week is anchored by the Sabbath, when all labor ceases throughout the city. Scrolls of parchment contain the words that have sustained this nation through centuries of exile and return. Crowds gather in the lower markets to purchase offerings required for the atonement of their many sins. The air is heavy with the scent of incense and the murmuring of thousands of praying voices. Families ascend the southern steps with songs of ascent upon their lips and hope in their hearts. This is a place where the spiritual world presses uncomfortably close against the realm of physical things. Devotion here is not a casual sentiment, but a fierce loyalty that supersedes all other earthly allegiances. Roman soldiers watch from the fortress towers with cold eyes that do not understand this strange devotion. Iron armor gleams in the sunlight, as a constant reminder of the military might holding dominion here. The governor resides in his palace while the high priest holds court within the temple chamber walls. Two distinct worlds collide within these gates and create a friction that threatens to spark a fire. Taxes are paid to Caesar, but the souls of the people belong only to the Lord God. The empire demands submission to its order, but this city answers only to a higher celestial authority. Tension vibrates through the crowded, narrow alleys like the tightening string of a bow ready to snap. Zealots whisper in the shadows about a kingdom that will overthrow the legions of the foreign oppressors. Every festival brings a fresh wave of expectation that the long-awaited deliverance is finally drawing near. Peace is maintained by the sword, but true order is kept by the observance of the commandments. There is no room for doubt in a city built upon the certainty of a divine promise. Identity here is forged in the fires of history and tempered by the strict demands of holiness. To live within these walls is to walk under the weight of an immense and ancient heritage. The stones themselves seem to testify to the endurance of a people who refuse to disappear today. Prophets cry out in the streets, warning of judgment, while the wealthy seek to maintain their stability. The uneasy truce between the sacred and the profane cannot endure forever in such a confined space. Faith provides a fortress for the spirit even as the political storm gathers on the dark horizon. Jerusalem stands as a testament to the enduring power of belief against the temporary might of empires. The silence of the desert surrounds the city, but the noise within creates a deafening human roar. Here on the edge of the empire, the fate of the world turns upon a single prayer.